You can.
Very warm good morning to one and all. It is my great privilege to introduce Professor Manesh B. Kokare sir once again to all the participants of this webinar. Uh, sir has sir's education qualification is like this. He is diploma degree holder in the subject industrial electronics. Uh, After that, he earned B and ME in electronics from prestigious institute Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded. After that, he went to Indian Institute of Kharagpur for his doctoral research work, and uh, he is the recipient of doctoral degree from the prestigious institute like IIT Kharagpur. After that, he received a fellowship for his postdoctoral research, and he went to University of California, Santa Barbara, USA in 2011 and 12 to complete his postdoctoral research. After completing his educational qualification in the initial 2 years, he served for industry, and after that in 1995 he joined his academic career as a lecturer in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering in Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Institute of Engineering and Technology. Since then, he is serving in this prestigious institute of the nation, and he is working in a various capacity like a professor and dean academics, coordinator of Center of Excellence in Signal and Image Processing, coordinator of RUSA, head of the department Electronics and Communication, dean Research and Development, dean Finance and Quality Assurance of the institute, and apart from delivering this administrative works, he contributed a lot to the research too. He has published over 130 research papers in the reputed journals of the international repute, as well as about 3,000 people cited his research work all over the globe. He has H index score is 22 and I index score is 42. And for his research work, he is acknowledged by various prestigious institutes with various awards like career award for young teachers, which this award of research grant of 10.5 lakhs he received in 2005. Afterwards, in 2009, he received Best Achiever of SGGS Alumni. Then he is recipient of Boycott Fellowship of US $38,000 from Government of India to carry out his postdoctoral research work. He is recipient of Best Teacher Award of Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada University in 2013. As well as he is a recipient of a prestigious AICT Vishwesvaraya Best Teacher Award 2020 given by AICT. So many such research awards he is acknowledged by research for his research and academics work by renowned institutes. In all, he has fetched more than 7 crores rupee of grant for the development of the institute, as well as he is a life member of various societies like System Society of India, Indian Society of Technical Education, the Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, member of IEEE, member of IEEE Signal Processing Society, and member of IEEE Computer Society. He is a reviewer of more than 20 international journals like IEEE, Pattern Recognition, Letters, International Journal of Information and Mathematics, International Journal of Image, Vision and Computing, as well as he has chaired various sessions in international conferences organized by IEEE in India as well as in abroad. He has visited more than 5 countries like United Nations, United Kingdom, USA, Spain, Singapore, Malaysia, and visited very renowned institute like University of Barcelona, Cambridge University, University of California, Santa Barbara, then University of Iowa, then Stanford University, University of California, San Diego, USA, and University of California, Berkeley, USA. So he visited in various capacity to these renowned institute, and because of all this work, he was acknowledged in 2007 edition of Who's Who in the World. So such a renowned personality, we have spare time to talk on how to write research paper and research ethics. So I once again invite you, Dr. Manesh Kokare sir, to deliver his second part of this speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, shall I start?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I'll share my presentation. Okay. So is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon all, and welcome to my second lecture, part 2. In the last week, I talked about research ethics particularly, and in this week, I'll talk about a research paper, how to write a research paper effectively. I was talking about, in last lecture, I was talking about what makes a good research paper. Okay, how we can say that particular paper is a good research paper. Like for example, if you have a good result, and if you have written it very poorly and published somewhere in the journal which is not well known, then can we call that as a good research paper, and so on. So to make the good research paper, there are 3 factors. Number 1 is it should talk about good science. Means your research should be novel one. Novelty of the research should be high. Second one is that it should be written well. Okay. And the third thing is that it should be published in a good journal. I'll tell you that, okay, when I was doing my postdoc, at that time, I was writing one paper, and then my results were not that way very great. So I decided that I'll communicate that paper to elsewhere publication. So my professor said that, okay, after reading that paper and so on, so my professor said that, where you are going to communicate that paper? So I said, okay, have you thought of it? So I said that, okay, I have decided to communicate this one to elsewhere. So his suggestion was that if you want to publish a paper, publish paper in top rated journal. Okay, so don't go below the top rated journals and so on. Otherwise, who will read that paper? Because most of the researchers refer paper from the top rated journals and so on. So now we'll see what is by good science, what is by good writing, and what is by good publication, or how do we rate the journals and so on. So what constitutes a good science? A paper which is talking about the novelty, the things which are not published, or things which are not discovered. So if you are proposing the things which are totally novel, then that will be a good thing. Then it should be a mechanistic. Okay, so you should have tested the hypothesis which you have proposed and so on. And third thing is that your paper should be descriptive paper. Like for example, you should not omit any kind of information. Otherwise, if somebody want to implement your paper, that researcher should be able to implement your paper as it is and on the same platform, and on they should test the result on the same database, and finally they should get the same result whatever you are claiming. Otherwise, you might have seen that some researchers don't disclose all the information, and then after that implementing that paper by other researchers becomes difficult, because some of the information is omitted from that paper, and it is not possible to re-implement that paper and check for comparison and so on. So your paper should be descriptive and so on. Now, how do we rate the journals particularly? Okay, so what constitutes a good journal? So journals are rated based on the impact factor. So how do you calculate that impact factor? Okay, what is meant by impact factor? So impact factor is nothing but, like for example, one journal is there, A journal is there, and B journal is there. Okay, A journal is also publishing a paper, B journal is also publishing a paper. Now the papers which are published by the A journals are not at all referred by the researcher, whereas papers published by B journal are widely referred by many researchers. So this B journal is making more impact on the research community as compared to A. So A is just publishing a paper, nobody is referring that papers, nobody is using those papers, and so on. So this A journal is not making any impact on the research community. But B journal, where many researchers are referring the papers from that B journal, and it is making more impact. So when somebody is referring, so definitely your paper will be cited by those researchers. So impact factor is measured in terms of number of citations. So average number of times published papers are cited in 2 years. So best period for calculating the impact factor is of 2 years, right? Now, another measure is also there, which is called as the immediacy index. So here, instead of using best period of 2 years, here best period is considered as 1 year. So average number of times published papers are referred during the year of publication and so on, right? Now we'll see how do we calculate the impact factor, okay? Or before that one, who maintains the citation rate and citation record? You might have seen that nowadays Google citations are there and so on. So there is an Institute of Scientific Information, so scientific information, which records the scientific citations and references, okay? And the number of times publication has been cited within a certain period, so that will be recorded by that institute. And they publish a SCI index, that is Science Citation Index, every year, particularly in the month of May, they publish it, okay? And the whole information is available on Thomson Reuters website, okay, of all the journals and so on. Now, how do we calculate the impact factor? Okay, so this is the main citation rate of all the articles contained in the journal and so on, right? Now, this is published annually by the SCI Journal Citation Report and so on. Now, see that the recorded number of citation within a certain year, like for example 2003, 2 items published in the journal during the preceding years of 2001 and 2. Like for example, if you are calculating the citation index of 2003, then you have to refer, for calculating the impact factor, you have to consider the best period or best years, like as a 2001 and 2002 and so on. So here the denominator item is a research paper or a review article, and the numerator is the citation to all the types of article. So in the next slide, it will be very clear how it is calculated. Like for example, we are calculating the citation or this one impact factor of 2022. Okay, so when you are calculating the impact factor of 2022, then you have to consider the best years as the previous 2 years, like as a 2021 and 2020. So previous 2 years are 2020 and 2021. So here, number of papers which are published in 2021 are 597, and number of papers published in 2020 are 577. So in previous 2 years, how many papers are published? So 1174. So it is summation of this one. So number of papers published by this A journal, like for example, A journals are in previous 2 years are 1174. Whereas now when you are calculating the impact factor of this journal, in 2022. So in 2022, how many papers of 2021 are cited in 2022? So here in 2021, number of papers published are 597. These papers, how many times it has been cited in 2022? 4,122. Okay, see, actual number of papers are published are 597, but number of citations are 4122 in 2022 to the papers published in 2021. So it may happen that some of the papers got more citation and some of the paper doesn't got any kind of citation. Similarly, the papers which are published in 2020 are 577. These 577 papers, how many times it has been cited in 2022? So they are cited 4,341 times. So as I said that some of the papers might have cited more number of times and some of the papers are not at all cited and so on. Now, so citation in 2022 for the previous 2 years papers are this summation of this one, that is equal to 8,463. So number of citation for previous 2 years are 8,463 and number of papers published by that journal in previous 2 years are 1,174. So impact factor is calculated as this number divided by this number, that is total number of citation in previous 2 years. So total citation in 2022 for paper published in previous 2 years, that is 8,463 divided by total number of papers published in previous 2 years, that is how many papers are published in previous 2 years? 1174. So 1174. So that is equal to 7.209. So this is the impact factor of that journal. So like, for example, consider this as a journal which is having impact factor equal to 7.20. Now B journal is that B journal has also published so same paper like as a journal, like in 2021 B journal has published 597, in 2020 577. Total number of papers published by B journal are 1174, but not a single paper is cited in 2022. So this value will be 0 again in 2000. Okay, for the paper 2020 if it is no citation, so this value will be 0. So total number of citation for previous 2 years will be 0. So your numerator will be 0 and divided by denominator is 1174. So anything 0 divided by anything will be 0. So impact factor of that journal will be 0. So in this way, impact factor is calculated and published by the this one SCI journal and so on, right? So definitely the research papers which are more widely referred by many researchers okay, will increase the citation, and if there is a citation, that will increase the impact factor of that journal and so on. So that journal is making more impact on the research community, whereas the research journal where nobody is referring the paper, so citations will be minimum or 0, so that is not making any impact, and hence impact factor will be minimum in that case. So in that way we can rate the journals based on the impact factor. Now this is just for example. For understanding purpose, I have given you what is the impact factor report of journal citation report of 2009. So Nature journal, see that Nature journal in 2009 was having impact factor of 30.979. Whereas Science journal is 29.162, Signal Processing Elsewhere publication 1.256, Pattern Recognition Letter 1.3, IEEE Transition System Man Assignments Part B 2, IEEE Transition Image Processing 2.5, IEEE Transition Pattern Analysis Machine Intelligence 3.5. So this means that this Nature journal is making more impact as compared to the PRL journal, or this IEEE transaction on image processing is making more impact as compared to IEEE transaction on system management 7 part B and so on. So like that way impact factor of journal is calculated and so on. Now what is the proper and improper use of impact factor? So evaluating the individual scientist, like for example, just now sir has told that okay, I have near about citations 2,711 citations are there as per Google citation report, and H index is 22, I-10 index is this one 42 and so on. Nowadays, okay, every year the Stanford University and then other elsewhere publication also, they are publishing the individual scientist record, and in our university also there were a really good number of scientists are there who those who are making impact on the research community and so on. So evaluating the individual scientist, you can use the impact factor and so on. Or like, for example, we have established a center of excellence in signal image processing. So in my center of excellence, there are 19 faculty members associated with center of excellence in signal image processing, now artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. So total citation of my group is more than 10,000. See that. So our group of signal image processing or machine learning and AI is a really strong group where good publications are there, and our research papers are widely referred by many researchers. So, okay, evaluating the group of research, this impact factor is used. So evaluating the individual scientist or awarding higher academic positions or evaluating the research groups or evaluating, like, for example, institutes. So institution also, like, for example, in my institute, total number of citations are more than 12,000 citations are there. For overall institute citations are there, or even for resource allocation or evaluating the journals, see this some impact factor can be used and so on. Now, some of the examples, like, for example, in Japan, people walk around boosting of their own individual impact factor, or in UK, university funding is awarded on the basis of impact factor, or in many universities, particularly Dean Research and Development, instruct authors to publish papers in high impact factor journals and so on. Now, what is wrong with impact factor? Okay. So in impact, basically self-citation is allowed. Like, for example, I have published a paper in 2002. Okay. And then when I'm writing a paper in 2022, so after 20 years, in 2022, I'm giving a reference of my own paper, like in 2002, Kokare et al. Has proposed this method. So automatically one citation will go to the journal, okay, which has published my paper in 2002. So that will inflate the citation of that journal and so on. So self-citations are allowed. Then review article, you know that the number of references in review article are very high, like more than 60, 70. And so that automatically inflates the impact factor. Long articles collect many citations, short publication lags, allows short-term journal self-citations and so on. And many times, many researchers use same language. Like, for example, if you have taken one paragraph from other or one sentence from other paper, and in that sentence there is a citation of other paper, so automatically it will come to your paper, and then one citation will go to that paper and so on. So same language citations are preferred by authors, and then that will increase the citation of particularly that paper and so on. So these kind of things are wrong and so on. Now, so this is all about, okay, the impact factor, its merits and demerits and so on. Now, how to write an effective paper, research paper and so on. So if you look, okay, okay, when you are thinking of writing a research paper, so you have to consider the things before writing. So when you can say that, okay, this is the time for you to write a research paper and so on. I'll give you just one example. After coming back from postdoc, okay, I was invited to conduct a one-week workshop on Violet at Pune. And then, so after first day, it was a marathon lecture from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So my lecture was over of first day. And in the evening, okay, myself and then 3-4 volunteer professors, we went for dinner, and there was one professor, okay, who did his PhD, okay, who did his PhD from local universities, some university from Rajasthan and so on. And then he was asking me that, okay, Professor, where from you have completed your PhD? I said that I have completed my PhD from IIT Kharagpur. Okay, how many years you took? I said that within 3 years I finished my PhD. Then just as a curiosity, I asked, what about you? So he said that, sir, I have finished my PhD within 9 months. Oh, really? It was great. How can you finish your PhD within the 9 months and so on? So he said that, sir, everything was managed kind of thing and so on. And then his another friend was telling that, sir, we kept one felicitation program. And then in the felicitation, because he was very close to the management, and that professor was very close to the management. And then in the felicitation program, the person who was doing anchoring, he was mischievous, because in the original agenda, only felicitation program was there. But all of a sudden, the person who was doing anchoring, he said that now professor will tell all the audience that what exactly he has done in his PhD. Okay, now you know that already he has not done anything, and then he got somehow PhD. So this professor was really smart. When he went to the IS, he said that really I have done a lot of work, and telling what I have done in PhD within 5 minutes is really challenging. So those who are interested in my research work, they can come to my cabin. I'll tell them what I have done in leisure time, because it will require 3-4 hours. What I have done exactly to tell, and all those things. See, really, is it required to tell what you have done? Really, that much time is needed? Even same question is asked to many researchers at the time of Viva. Can you tell within 1 or 2 minutes what is your main contribution? Like, for example, if I tell that what I have done in my PhD, I'll say that, okay, I have designed this rotated complex wavelet. I have designed this rotation invariant texture features. I have proposed this method, I have proposed this method, and so on. So like that way, 5 major contributions are there. So to tell you what you have done in your PhD or research, it will require only 1 minute. But if you have not done the work, definitely you will require more paragraphs or more time to tell. So those who have to say most, they will say usually in a fewest word. So when you have done a research, there will be one contribution that you must be able to tell what exactly is your major contribution. Like, for example, if I have designed something, so I'll tell that, okay, I have designed a new rotated complex wavelet. So this is my contribution. This is my novelty. So if you are able to tell the audience that what is novelty in a 1 or 2 sentences, then we can say that this is the time for you to write a paper. So when we can say the time, it is a time for writing a paper, if you have made significant advancement, like, for example, earlier result were 75%, and with your proposed method, you have got 77%. I'm not saying, okay, you have got very significant, but at least 2% improvement is there. So that 2% improvement makes the difference, because see, that research cannot go directly to 100%. It takes time, right? It takes time. Already I told in my last lecture that, see, if you define a research is nothing but study whatever everybody has done, and then think whatever nobody has thought. So study whatever everybody has done is nothing but the literature survey, and think whatever nobody has thought is nothing but the you have to propose something new, novel, which is not in existence, and so on. Okay. One more example I'd like to tell you that, see, many research or many people from Pune, many people from Nashik, they do up and down job from Pune to Bombay or Nashik to Bombay. Daily, they spend nearly 4 hours onward journey and 4 hours return journey. 8 hours they are spending. Now, can you think that in the future we can do up and down job from Bombay to California or Los Angeles? See, at present, you will feel that this is very imaginable and something like that, which is not possible. But in research, the things which are impossible will be made possible with the help of research, and so on, right? So already see that, you know that if you travel from Bombay to Los Angeles, it requires 26 hours time journey is there. You have to go from Bombay to Heathrow Airport, London to New York to Los Angeles, and then almost 23 to 25 hours journey time will be there. Now you can, with this speed, you cannot go, you cannot do the up and down job. But already a design of supersonic flight is going on. And ultimate aim of design of this supersonic flight is to have one complete round around the Earth within 1 hour. Now, if you get such kind of flight, which will complete one round around the Earth within 1 hour, so time required from Bombay to Los Angeles will be 15 hours, 15 minutes only. Now, spending time, 15 minutes time for commuting is possible, because even when we come from city to Vishnupuri in our college, we require 20 minutes time. So in future, it may be possible that you can do up and down job from Bombay to LA and then come back and so on. So with research, anything is possible. Okay. So you have to see, when you're saying that, okay, we are designing a supersonic flight, it will not be possible within 1 day or 2 days. It will require some time. Already the research work has been started. So many researchers are doing work, like, for example, the aeronautical engineers are there, electronics engineers are there, computer engineers are there, material science people are there, okay, control system engineers are there, and then they have designed a new supersonic flight. Earlier, the flight which generally used to take time, like for example, Heathrow to New York, it takes 7 hours time, but with new flight, it takes only 4 hours time. So 7 hours to 4 hours means 3 hours time is reduced. So research is not like, for example, within 1 day or 1 night or 2 weeks, it will happen. It will take some time. So some significant advancement you have to do. So you should be able to tell the audience that what exactly significant advancement you have done. So in one sentence, if you are able to tell, then definitely it is the time for you to write a research paper. So also, when you're thinking of writing a research paper, whether your hypothesis is really a straightforward hypothesis, okay, whether your experiments test the hypothesis or not, are the control parameters appropriate and sufficient, and can you describe a study within 1 or 2 minutes, like what exactly is your novelty? So, or can you give a key message which can be written in 1 or 2 sentences? If that is the stage of your research, then this is a time for you to write a research paper. Okay, so some significant advancement or some novelty which you can describe within 1 or 2 sentences, then you can write a paper and so on. Now, when you are considering writing a paper, so you must be using the tables and figures and chart, pie chart, bar chart, and so on. So the tables and figures which you are going to use in your paper, it must be clear, it must be concise, and it should be self-explanatory. Otherwise, like for example, you have given, see, once you have given a result in the tabular form, within that table, if somebody looks at what is there in that table, that person should be able to understand what exactly the advancement has been done and so on. There should not be, okay, you should not require 1 more paragraph to explain what is there in the table. So table should be clear, self-sufficient to tell, or even if you have plotted the graph, so graph should be such that it should be able to tell what is the advancement and so on. So all those graphs and tables should be self-explanatory and clear and concise. References, like for example, see, references, while giving the references, you should be very careful. Like for example, if you are writing a paper in 2022 and your recent reference is of 2012, so after that you have not referred any kind of paper and so on. And if your research paper goes to the reviewer will see that, okay, this researcher has not done any kind of survey in last 10 years, and a lot of work has been done. So this researcher does not know what has been done by the other researchers in last 10 years. So definitely he will write one comment that he should refer the recent paper and he should compare the results with the state-of-art methods and so on, not 10 years back. Okay. Another thing is that number of references, like for example, in the reference section, you have given the reference like as 20 references, and actually in main manuscript, only 15 references are referred. So that is not correct. Or in reference, like for example, reference number 3 is Alexander and something. And in reference main manuscript, you have written reference number 3 as a Deshpande and Kulkarni, which is mismatching. So that should not happen. So read references carefully. Okay, and also refer references carefully, because some of the reviewers may be from references itself. Because your associate editor, if they want to send your paper to the experts, so definitely the people, those who have done research previously, so they will be expert in that domain. So some of the reviewers of your paper may be the researchers which, okay, of which you have referred the paper and so on. Choose the journals rightly. Like for example, if I'm doing a research in machine learning, so I should communicate my paper to the machine learning journals. I should not communicate my paper to the VLSI journal and so on. And then quality of the journal, impact factor of that journal, tentative title and summary and so on. And also choose the author. Now, who should be the author particularly? Okay, so see that how many authors should be there for journal? At least one author should be there for that paper to take the public responsibility. Then what is, so this is the minimum count. What about the maximum count? How many authors should be there as a maximum number of authors? Is there any upper limit? So there is no upper limit. I'll tell you that. Recently in 2018, myself and my team conducted an online challenge at Washington, DC. And then after that online challenge, we wrote one paper, which is very big paper of 80 pages, which is a summary of that online challenge. And in that paper, number of authors are 57 from 16 different countries. Now see that our first page is only the title and the authors, number of, okay, the name of the authors. So there is no upper limit of the authors. So any number can be there, but each author should take the public responsibility. I'll tell you that in 2013, there was one researcher in my institute, and then he was giving his pre-submission seminar, okay, before submitting his thesis. And then I was invited as an external from the other department. So I went there and he started his seminar, pre-submission seminar. And as per my knowledge, he was having only one guide. Okay, he published 3-4 journal papers, 4-5 conference papers. So he delivered his seminar, pre-submission seminar, and on the last slide, okay, he was showing number of publications, like journal papers or 3 journal papers or 4 journal papers are there, and 4 to 5 conference papers are there. And in every journal paper or in every conference paper, there were 3 authors. I was really surprised. Who is this third author? I said that you have only one guide. So first author may be you, second author may be your guide, but who is this third author? So he said that, sir, she is my wife. Now see that husband was working in electronic department in one of the college, wife was working in IT department. Okay, and then in every paper he put his wife's name as a co-author. Now actually wife has not contributed anything technically in that research. See, she might have kept a conducive environment at home to do the research and so on, or not fought with husband, but that does not justify the authorship. So for authorship, okay, who should be the author? The person who takes the public responsibility, the person who has contributed in that research and so on. Only moral support and all those things will not be sufficient to become a co-author of that paper. So each author should have sufficiently participated in the work to take the public responsibility for its content. And participation in what form? If somebody is helping you to design that experiment, if somebody is helping you to do the interpretation of that experiment, to do the analysis of that experimentation, or if somebody is helping you to drafting the article or to critically revising it for all intellectual content, or if somebody is helping you to give the final approval for the version to be published, like as your supervisor and so on. So okay, those person you can put them as your co-author. Not like for example, sir, Kokare sir, you have published so many papers, kabhi hamara bhi naam dalte chalo. So because he is my friend, so can I put his name as a co-author? It should not be. Okay, unless and until that person is involved in that research in some form, you cannot put the name of that person as a co-author. So participation, or even somebody is helping only for collection of the data, also does not justify the authorship. So that person should help you in the concept design or analysis and interpretation, or drafting the article or final approval and so on. So authors, number of authors minimum are 1, maximum maybe any number, and the person who is involved in that research can be a co-author and so on. Now the hardest part is getting started. Okay, so the parts of the manuscript, you see that the title, when you are writing a title, it should not be too big. Title should not be too big, and don't use abbreviation in the title. Like for example, DWT based approach for digital image watermarking. Now what is DWT? Say, so don't use that abbreviation in the title. So your part of the manuscript may be like, for example, title, abstract, introduction, method, result, discussion, and acknowledgement, and so on. Now, which part should I start in the beginning? So generally, my method is like for writing a paper is that, see, when I design an experiment, when I write an algorithm, so my method is ready, right? And when I implement that one, my results are ready. So I start writing paper when I do start writing it or doing the experiment and so on. So generally the sequence is like, for example, if you have given the title, tentative title, after that generally I write a method and then result, and then after that I write introduction and then discussion, and finally I write the abstract of the paper, because abstract is the gist of the paper, and then finally you can write a reference, these references and acknowledgement and so on. Now what you should write, like for example, methods and material, when you have designed the experiment, at that time you know the method, right? Or algorithm is known, so write down that algorithm at that time only. So best to begin writing when experiment still in progress. You can write methods and materials which are used. It should be detailed enough. Like for example, when you're writing a method of your experiment, it should be detailed enough so that somebody else, other researchers, if that person has referred your paper, he or she should be able to re-implement that paper, and he or she should be able to get the same result whatever you have reported. Otherwise, suppose for example you have reported that you got 80% accuracy, and after somebody has implemented that paper and then he got 75% accuracy, so that should not happen. So your method should be detailed enough so that other researchers should be able to implement. Then reference the published method wherever appropriate. Include, see, when you are writing a methods and material, if you are doing a work in a biomedical signal processing or biomedical imaging and so on, then include the animal and human use approval information in that method and so on. Now when you are writing a result should be briefly repeating protocol that can be effectively written. So while writing a result, you can write in the form of tables, you can write those results in the present result in the form of figures or in charts, pie chart, bar chart, and so on. So tables and figures must be straightforward and concise. Present main findings referring to the tables and figures without exaggerating and so on. So do not speculate or over discuss the result and so on. So result should be very concise, okay, in the form of table, in the form of charts, pie chart, bar chart, or graphs and so on. Then when you are writing an introduction part, now in introduction, see how the researcher or other community will get attracted to your research unless and until you present it nicely. So you have to start that why this research is so important. So what is the motivation of your research? So generally I divide this introduction part into 3 subsections. Like in the first subsection 1, see, introduction is your first part. So 1.1 I write as what is the motivation of the research, why this research is so important, okay, from society point of view, and this one from your country point of view and so on. So that importance I give in the motivation part. Then second part, okay, 1.2 is related work. So to solve that problem, what other researchers have done or what other researchers have taken the efforts. So in brief, I give that one in 1.2. Now, if other researchers have done the efforts or done the research, then there must be, okay, is it a final one? Or there are some lacunas. So what are those lacunas? And then, so I briefly write what are the earlier lacunas of earlier researchers and so on. And then how those lacunas are overcome by my proposed method, and then how results are improved as compared to the previous one and so on. And in 1.3 section, I write, okay, what is the summary of major contribution of my research? See, so introduction part I have arranged like as a first one, 1.1 as a motivation of the research, 1.2 as a related work, and 1.3 as a key summary of the contribution, summary of research contribution. And then last paragraph of your introduction is organization of the paper, that what section 2 is talking, what section 3 is talking, and so on. So whenever your paper will be referred by any reviewer, within first section he will come to know what is the major contribution of your research. Otherwise, if you don't write clearly what is your major contribution, then a reviewer will get confused and he will find difficulty that what exactly he has done in this research and so on. So you have to clearly highlight what is the major contribution of your research and how advancement has been done in the introduction part itself. Now see that I said that this one, the central question, that is nothing but the hypothesis. Like for example, I was doing the research work on a content-based email retrieval during my PhD, and in particularly that content-based email retrieval, I explained what is importance of content-based email retrieval, and then particularly in that I was working on texture-based email retrieval. Now in texture-based email retrieval, earlier paper, standard paper was published by Ma and Manjunath, and then what is the what is the problem of that method? So they used Gabor wavelet for for extracting the textural feature, but this Gabor wavelet has two disadvantages. One is this Gabor wavelet is not an orthogonal transform, and hence representation is not compact. Second problem is that this one its computational complexity is very high. Now see that I'm posing two important questions with earlier method, that is the earlier method is not compact method, or computational efficiency is computationally complexity is very high. So with my research, so these are the two questions which I pose, that as this is the central question which I'm going to address through my research. Now when I'm doing the research, I should be able to answer whether I have really improved my accuracy and I have really reduce the computational complexity with my research or not. So that this central question, okay, you have to ask in the introduction part, that we call that as a hypothesis and so on. Now, so this should be very clear and straightforward. So build the case for why study is important and necessary, provide the brief background. So here I said that I talk about the motivation, here I talk about the related work, and then a central question, like for example, what are the problems of earlier work that I'm going to solve. So this central question, like for example, earlier method suffers with two main disadvantages. One is efficiency is less, and second one is computational complexity is high. Now these are the two questions which I have posed. Now through research, I should be able to answer this one. Now give one sentence summary of finding, like as a research contribution and so on. Now, when you're writing a discussion after result, now discussion section should not be same like as a result section. Many researchers I have seen that they write same thing in the discussion, but in discussion, what you have to write, you have to answer the question which you have posed in your introduction. That is nothing but the central question, that okay, earlier method suffers with these two problems, and to overcome this one, I'm proposing this new method. Now whether your new method is really answering this question or not, so that you have to tell in the discussion. Okay, so you have to give the answer of central question, that is hypothesis. So find the answer, first answer the question which was posed in the introduction in the discussion section. Okay, relate your conclusion to the existing knowledge in the discussion section, and discuss your weakness and discrepancies also. It's not like that your research is ultimate research and beyond that nothing has been left, otherwise research will stop. So there may be some limitations of your own research. So without any hesitation, okay, you should be able to tell, okay, that these are the weaknesses or these are the discrepancies, so that other researchers will start thinking on that one, and then there will be advancement. They will propose a new technique which will overcome your weaknesses and so on. So that you have to write in the discussion. So explain what is new without any exaggeration in the discussion. Don't repeat result again in the discussion. Already result you have presented in the result section. So discussion section, you have to tell all those 5 points. Like for example, you have to answer the question which was posed, central question which was posed in introduction, relate your conclusion and to the existing knowledge, discuss weakness and discrepancies, explain what is new without exaggerating, and do not repeat the result and so on. And then finally, you have to write the conclusion or summary and implications and so on. Now references, it should be relevant and recent one. As I said that some of the references should be, like for example, when you are writing a paper in 2022, you should refer at least up to 2021 and so on. It should not be like as a recent one is 2012 and so on. And it should be a relevant one also. Be highly selective, because some of the reviewers may be from your reference itself. So read the references carefully. Do not misquote. Like for example, in reference number 3, in reference section, you have given like as Deshpande and Kulkarni, and in main manuscript, you have given reference number 3 as Alexander and something like that. So that should not happen. Okay, so do not misquote. Then use correct style for journal. See that for IEEE transaction, reference number is given in the square bracket, whereas in elsewhere reference is given in the other format and so on. So you have to refer the style of that journal and you will get that information from the instruction for author from that journal and so on. Now, abstract. So we are writing the abstract at the end of the paper. So this is the gist of the paper. Okay. Now, in generally abstract of the paper is of 150 words. Okay. Now, in 150 words, how many sentences may be there? So there may be 6 to 7 sentences, or at the most 8 sentences, and like that. So I have seen that some of the researchers, they take first paragraph of introduction as an abstract or something like that. But that is not the way. See that when somebody reads your abstract, he should get the feeling that what is there in your paper. So abstract is the gist of the paper and it should be written very precisely. Now, what you should write in the first 2 sentences, what you should write in the middle 2 sentences, and what you should write at the end of the abstract and so on. So in the first 2 sentences, you write what is the problem you are handling, okay, what kind of research you are doing. And now, like for example, okay, this problem you are handling, and then to solve that problem, what kind of method you are proposing. So in first 2 sentences, you are talking about the problem which you are handling. Second sentence, you are talking about to solve that problem, which method you are proposing. So your first 3 sentences are over. After that, in middle of that abstract, okay, with your experiment, what kind of result you got? You talk about the result in the next 3-4 sentences, 2-3 sentences. Okay, what kind of result, and then whether you have compared your result with the state of art and how that advancement has been done compared to the state of art method and so on. And in the last sentence, in a 1 sentence, what is the conclusion? So that you have to write. So if you read the abstract, that will give the complete gist of your paper, that what kind of problem is addressed by you, and then to solve that problem, what kind of method you have proposed, and with your method, what kind of result you got, and from that result, what is the conclusion. So within 6 to 7 sentences, you should be able to tell the audience what is your research. So abstract is a gist of your research paper. It should be written very, very clear. So this is a critical part of the paper. State main objective, summarize the most important result, state major conclusion and significance, write and rewrite until, okay, you get the flawless abstract and so on. Now, title, when you are writing the title should be small. It should not be too long. Okay, saying so it will determine, and then avoid too long title. Then avoid abbreviations using the okay in the title, like don't use DWT based something. Don't use abbreviation in the title and so on. Then revise, and revise. Okay, and in this process, all the authors should be involved in that. So all authors should participate while writing a paper, review the order of data presentation while revising, polish the writing style, use Grammarly software. Nowadays, Grammarly software is available. Also, you have to check your plagiarism also. So see that your plagiarism should not be more than 15-20% and so on. And also avoid all those careless mistakes or typographical mistakes by using Grammarly software, because we are mainly, our main language is Marathi language or Hindi language. Our third language is English, and we have to write a paper in English. So many people commit the mistakes while writing the. So for that, definitely this Grammarly software will be really useful. So double check the references, look for typographical mistakes, double check spelling, and then so develop the good writing style. So for developing the good writing style, you have to read the papers which are well written. And also you have to have the association with the experts, like for example, your supervisor may be a good writer and so on. So read well written articles, try to get good writers to review the paper, learn from the editing changes. And then after that, when you submit the paper, read instructions carefully, because every journal is having different style of writing. Fill out all necessary forms, like as a copyright forms and so on, or conflict of interest form, write cover letters. Sometimes some of the journals, they ask to suggest your reviewers also. And then after that, you will get the confirmation receipt within the 6 weeks after submit. So the process, overall process of the research is like, for example, after completion of your research, Okay, you may be preparing your manuscript. After preparing manuscript, you will be submitting that manuscript to the journal. So after that, this okay, when that manuscript go to the journal, so initially it goes to the editor, then editor will assign associate editor, because suppose, for example, if I'm submitting a paper to the IEEE transition on image processing, in image processing there are several subjects, like as image enhancement is there, image compression is there, image segmentation is there, and so on. So for every subsection there is a separate associate editor. So main editor, like for example, if my paper is of image segmentation, so definitely main editor will send that paper to the associate editor who handles the paper of image segmentation. So he will assign that associate editor. After associate editor, okay, once that paper goes to associate editor, okay, then associate editor will find at least 3 reviewers. So he will write an email to the 3 reviewers that we have got such and such email, this one manuscript, and it is in your expertise. And then he will request that reviewer to review that paper. So he may give 15 days time for replying. So see that when you submit a paper, within first week it will be with associate editor, then in next week it will go to the associate editor. So already 15 days are there, gone. Then next 15 days, associate editor will give time to the reviewers to respond. So 1 month is already over, and if all those 3 reviewers are ready to review that paper, then the whole paper will be sent to the this one reviewers. And then how much time is given? Generally in IEEE transition or top rated journal, they will give 2 months time. So 2 months time is given to the reviewer. So reviewer will review that research paper within 2 months. Most of the reviewers are top people. They are busy with their most of the other activities. So after 7th week, this associate editor will send a gentle email that, Professor, you have accepted this paper for reviewing, but still today we haven't received any review from you. So only 1 week is left. After that, professor will start downloading that paper, and then he will review, and then after that he will submit the revised version of reviewer comments to the associate editor. So 3.5 months is already over in that process. And see that in the revision there are options like accept paper as it is. Second one is accept paper with minor revision. And third one is accept paper with major revision. Fourth one is reject that paper. Okay. Generally, even if your paper is good paper, okay, most of the reviewer will tick the third option, like, okay, major revision, paper will be accepted after major revision. And some of the comments are given and so on. Like, and then you may get like a reviewer's comment from the associate editor. See, once all those 3 reviewers give the reviewer comment, associate editor will take the decision if all 3 reviewers says this paper may be accepted, provided if it is corrected and so on. And then associate editor will send an email to the researcher that your paper may be accepted, provided you send the revised version of paper within 2 months. Now see that 2 more months are given to you, and then you have to revise that paper. So when you are revising that paper, you revise the paper according to the suggestion given by the reviewer. Don't challenge the reviewer. Prepare separate rebuttal sheet, like for example, reviewer number 1, suggestion number 1. So this has been taken care on page number this one. Reviewer number 1, suggestion number 2. This modification has been done on page number 13, on paragraph number this one, and so on. So like that way, politely revise your manuscript, prepare a rebuttal sheet, and submit that revised version. See, if you have given 2 months, and if you are taking 2 months time for revision submission, so already 5 to 6 months are over. And again, that paper will go to the reviewer, and then reviewer will basically this one, if revision is there, so again it will take that reviewer will take 2 months more time to review. So 8 to 9 months are over. And if your paper is accepted, after that you have to submit the camera ready copy, and then 1 more month is given to submit the camera ready copy. And then after that, once you submit the camera ready copy, this paper will go to the press for publishing. That will be in line, and then after 1 year your paper will be published. So publishing a paper in a top rated journal, this process requires at least 1 year of time, or like that, and so on. And even sometimes it may happen that after second revision also your paper may get rejected. Again, you have to start from the beginning, and so on. So if your paper is accepted, so it will be published, and so on. So see that within 3 years of time, if one paper is taking 1 year time. So within 3 years, how many papers you can publish? At the most 3-4 papers and so on. But I'll tell you that I was reviewing one of the research paper of ITP transition image processing, and it was not a blind review. Means author's information was known, and just I googled the author's name, and I came to know that this researcher is from Italy. And when I saw he has published 45 journal papers within 3 years, I was really surprised. I said that there must be duplicate manuscript, there must be redundant manuscript, and then this one. But every research paper was totally different. It was novel and it was published in the reputed journal. And when I went through his paper, it was written well, it was novel. Still we asked that, okay, the major revision is needed. And then when that decision was communicated by associate editor to the author that, okay, your paper needs revision. Now, how much time was given to that author? 2 months time was given. But this author does not took 2 months time. Within 2 days, he acted immediately. Within 2 days, he submitted the revised version paper with rebuttal sheet. And then, see, in the previous week only, we submitted our revision. And then in next week, we got the revised version paper. And as a reviewer, I will see that whether my suggestion has been taken care of or not. So I saw that all my suggestions were taken care. And then immediately I submitted that, yes, now paper can be accepted. So see that other journal papers may take 1 year time, but for him, it took only 4 months time because he acted immediately. So my suggestion for you as a researcher or research scholar is that when you get the revision from any journal, don't wait like for 2 months time is given. So I'll wait and then I'll submit my revised version after 2 months and so on. Act immediately, minimize that time and publish that paper as early as possible. So when you're responding to the reviewers, okay, carefully prepare your responses. Each comment should be addressed carefully. Each changes should be stated. Be enthusiastic. Don't challenge to the reviewer. Otherwise, if you are challenging to the reviewer, definitely your paper may get rejected and so on. So review, sometimes it may happen that reviewer may be wrong, but you have to be very tactful. After first revision, you add one section, that is acknowledgement section before references, and write one acknowledgement like as I would like to thank anonymous reviewer for his insightful comment and helpful suggestions for making this manuscript of better quality, like that way. So apple polishing is sometimes needed because after all, reviewers are also human beings. So everybody like praising and so on. So be tactful. Thank to the reviewers also. Do not respond to review upsell. Never call editor. Get help from other authors and so on. So as I said that when I started my research paper writing, initially I was not knowing any kind of information, how to write a paper. But okay, I learned that thing through my experience or through my journey of PhD. So there is no experience except through experience. So thank you very much. Over to you.
या संदर्भात आपले काही असतील तर सरांशी आपण कम्युनिकेट करू शकता. ऑल द पार्टिसिपंट. वेटकर सर प्लीज.
नमस्कार मॅडम आणि आजचे रिसोर्स पर्सन डॉक्टर मनीष कोरके सर. आपल्या स्वामी रामाती विद्यापीठाने जी मालिका सुरू केली एक्सपर्ट लेक्चर, त्याचा मला आज सहभागी होता आलं. दुसरा भाग आहे, मॅडमने लिंक पाठवली. अँड द टॉपिक वॉज रिलेटेड टू ऑल द रिसर्चर्स. That's why I watched every point of view, sir, because its explanation was so perfect and useful to us. You are really have strong biodata with academic very best work. You also raised the fund your institutes. You also reputed as a research keynote speaker for other countries also. So in your field, you did very best job. So we are proud that such experts can devote for the researchers, those who are trying to publish their paper research in the research. I like this so much, sir. It's all explanation by you. 2 to 3 things I would like to put some negative in there. If you don't take otherwise,
No,
yes,
no.
because every orator when he talks continuously, then he should stick with his title, no doubt. So first of all, in impact factor, how it is calculated, all these things was totally unrelated to our topic, because just within 2 lines you can finish it, which having so much citation, it has high impact, but it's sufficient for, because our title is how to write a good research paper. And the last second is that you don't give explanation of your self research, because that terms are unknown to others, because you are from engineering side, we are from arts commerce side. So just give A and B examples, and you can give that example also. And third is, what is the process of the acceptance of the paper? That was also time killing, because within 2 to 3 lines, if they responded to you, you have to check out that you do properly to reply. It is sufficient. So, sir, if you are something taking wrong for me, sorry for
No.
that. But it is just I want to explain with you. Otherwise, your examples of that how to explain our research within 2 3 minutes, and that example of that person or researcher, it was very best. And every researcher, those who are working in this field, they also get more clear idea from title to references. Every point you have cleared so much, and thank you, sir, for giving the opportunity to join us, to ma'am and to institute. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So actually, it was a continuation of my previous lecture. So previous lecture was on ethics, and then how we decide what is good research and bad research, or like that, how to evaluate that one. So that part was left from my previous. So I just continued that one. Okay, how we can say that this is a good research. So maybe like, for example, in the form of writing a paper or in the journal, how do you evaluate the journal? Impact factor, how do you calculate the impact factor? And then this one. What is good science and so on. So that's why I explained the first 3 points initially, because that was left from my previous lecture. And and then lastly, just for the information of audience, okay, when you submit a paper to any journal, what exactly happens? See, as a professor, we know, but if you think from the researcher's point of view, they are not aware of much all those things. Like, for example, why this top rated journals take so much time, like as a 1-year publication and so on. So the entire process is like that. So that's just for sharing the process of publishing a paper. So just I cited that one.
Yes, sir, because you have published your paper in reputed journal where it gives 3 to 4 months. It's your experience. But the local position is that when within you submit your email, in second day you get the reply. So you are trying with the standard process. Yes.
But I don't encourage such kind of, because see, that paper should be reviewed thoroughly. It should be published in the reputed journal. Even in my last lecture, I talked about, see, you may increase the count, like for example, submitting a paper on today and getting without review acceptance, your paper has been accepted, submit this much amount of fees, and then your paper will be published. So increasing such a count is of no use. See, instead of quantity, we should have the quality in our research. Okay, so even a person who has published 5 papers in top rated journal, and the other researcher who has published 200 papers in not so reputed journals or ordinary conferences. So 200 is not important, 5 is important. So quality matters, quantity does not matter. So that is what I would like to convey the message to all the researchers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you to you.
So
Anybody else?
सर स्क्रीन शेअरिंग स्टॉप करा ना सर.
Okay, just a minute. Okay.
Dr. Bhaviskar.
Thank you, madam. On behalf of Swami Ramanand Tirth, Marathwada University, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our today's resource person, Professor Dr. Manesh Kokare sir, who spare time from his busy schedule to grace and enlighten us in through his presentation. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thought, and this will surely going to be encourage us in our future events. Your thought have enlightened our mind and have shown a new path in the research field. My gratitude to all other participants for sparing their valuable time to listen the resourceful lecture of Dr. Manesh Kokare sir. I also thanks to our deans, Dr. Wagmare sir, Dr. Vajanta Patil madam, Dr. Vasan Bhosle sir, Dr. Tengse sir, those who have given us the opportunity for listening to such thoughts of knowledgeable persons across the state. So I also thanks our Vice Chancellor and Pro Vice Chancellor sir for allowing us to organize this webinar series. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, may I take leave now?
Kokare sir, thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
आमच्या